Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to America once again, and we're going to return to a brewery who you saw me review maybe about 2 months or so ago, and this was the first brewery that I managed to visit on this trip over there. The first time I'd been to America in about 9 years. I went to Iowa for my good friend's wedding. So for this one we're going to return to Decorah in Iowa and do another beer from Toppling Goliath, and this is one of their more staple beers from what I understand. So this one is the Pseudo, which they're describing as a paleo, but it comes in at 6.8%. So in my mind, that would make it more of an IPA rather than anything. To me, a paleo's got to be somewhere between 5 and 6%. So this is definitely one of the heavier APAs that you're going to come across. When I was in the brewery, I had a really good time. I managed to film a little brewery visit video for you, so I'll edit that together very soon and put that up for you on the channel as well, and I do hope that you enjoy that. I also tried King Sue on tap, which was very nice too, and I was recommended to have a little look at that one from Jess Holden, who's one of my followers in that area in America, so big shout out to him as well. But really looking forward to trying this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. The last one I tried from them was the Pompeii IPA, and that was very nice, and this is a brewery of course that has a very good reputation for their IPAs actually. So yeah, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I'll do in the future from Toppling Goliath Brewing Company. You will see at least one more of these within the next couple of weeks. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the American beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Toppling Goliath Brewery then, on to my brewery notes. So Toppling Goliath was founded by Clark and Barb Louie back in 2009, and they're based in Decorah in Iowa, which is kind of in the northeastern part of the state if you like, but pretty much the whole of Iowa is flat. It's fields for as far as you can see, and this brewery pretty much is in the middle of nowhere, but it's a very impressive facility in fact. But Clark had apparently been involved with the beverage industry with his family's company for around 28 years before he started the brewery, and prior to that he did a tour in the US Air Force. But he used to have to drive an hour to Wisconsin to actually get a hold of craft beer, and he decided basically that he was sick of this and that he would start his own brewery to stop having, so that he didn't have to do this drive anymore. But he's also a lover of wine. He used to make his own wine as well, and he toyed with the idea of opening up a brew pub for a good number of years, but he later started homebrewing with his wife Barb, and he started making IPAs, but then developed a lager which was called Dorothy's New World Lager, which went down very, very well with his brothers. Apparently they weren't a great fan of the IPAs initially, but they've really grown to like them over the last few years. And soon after starting the company, he hired Mike Sabo as his brewmaster. Mark Sabo rather, not Mike Sabo, and he'd also had considerable background in chemistry and biology. And over the last few years the brewery's grown to have a very, very good reputation when it comes to IPAs, but they also do some very nice stout beers actually. I did have a taste of some of their stout beers when I was in the brewery. But there's been some controversy surrounding the brewery recently over the treatment of employees and sexism and things like that. If you check out if you have a little search for them on the internet and things, there are a few controversies surrounding Toppling Goliath since about 2017 or something like that. But they did get their original brewmaster back. But today they've got a very large tap room which has over 20 taps at any one time. They've got food. They offer brewery tours as well, which you can book, and they're producing well over 100,000 barrels of beer per year from what I understand, and they've produced well over 80 different varieties as well. It's basically, this brewery, if you go and visit it, it's basically one of these kind of corrugated metal barns in the middle of the countryside in Iowa. The little village of Decorah, in America a village isn't the same in the sense as it is to a European. It's basically a group, it's just basically a group of houses very kind of far apart compared to a little kind of tight-knit village as you would get here in Europe. This brewery really is in the middle of nowhere, to be honest. There's a few houses and things around it, but not much else. One or two other companies. But yeah, it was a really impressive bar, and I was wondering when when I was there, when people actually go to drink at this brewery, do they get home? And I've heard that's a big problem in America. People go to the brewery, they drink a good few beers, and then they drive drunk home. It's one of those things, you have to drive everywhere in America, particularly in rural, kind of Midwestern America. But like I say, a really well-known brewery, this one, for their IPAs, and probably one of the better known Midwest breweries these days, actually, outside of the kind of Chicago area, of course. But that's all you really need to know about the brewery just now. If you want to learn a little bit more, of course, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram, and that'll keep you up to date with the latest goings on at the brewery. But yeah, let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself then. So as I mentioned to you at the start of the video, this one is a 6.8% American Pale Ale. There you can see, nicely presented can. This one, I did buy a mixed 4-pack actually of different beers from these guys, but I was only able to bring back 2 of them when I weighed up my case. There you can see the Toppling Goliath brewery symbol on this one, which is nice, and this one obviously is a kind of, I don't want to say a rip-off, like a spin-off, if you like, rather, of King Sue, which is their main their main double IPA that they became really famous for. But it says on the side here, a single hop pale ale showcases the citra hop for a well-balanced beer that is delicate in body with a mild bitterness in the finish. Ferocious hop aromas of citrus and mango give a refreshing taste that is bright with just enough bite. Brewed by Toppling Goliath Brewing Company, Decorah, Iowa. So yeah, 16 ounces, this one, fluid ounces. To put it in real measurements, 473 millilitres, 1 US pint. So yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. I'm really curious to see how this one turns out. Like I said, the first beer I reviewed from Toppling Goliath was the Pompeii IPA, which was really quite nice. And I do have a can of King Sue that you'll see me review at some point later. I think it was the other one that I had was Hop Smash, and the other one that I had was had a scorpion on it. But I had to give those to I had to donate those to my father because I didn't have enough weight to take them home in the plane. But yeah, so as you can see with this one, it's poured a really nice, if I hold it up to the light, it's a very thick yellowy colour, this one. There's a solid 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say kind of cream coloured head on this one, to be honest with you. Definitely more of a cream coloured head. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass. A few little ones are visible and being active and heading up towards the bottom of that head. But you know, in terms of appearance, there's nothing particularly surprising about this beer when you consider that it is an American pale ale, and quite obviously it's a New England style. If I put my fingers behind the glass, there is no way that you can see anything through that. This one is a very, very hazy beast of a beer, but looks very nice, nice bright yellowy colour, kind of akin to a sort of pineapple juice or mango juice or something along those kind of lines. Definitely a nice big fruity, juicy looking New England IPA. So let's take a closer look at that aroma then and just see how we get on. Yeah, that's really nice. The citra hops coming out really quite nicely, I have to say. Straight away with this one, you're going to get, it comes across to me as being quite a milky, creamy IPA, which again is something you would expect from the New England beers. There's a little bit of biscuity sweetness in there. You can definitely pick up the nice oaty creaminess, also a little bit of that smooth wheaty character as well. So the malt base is pretty much everything you'd expect. To me, to be honest, it leans a little bit more towards the kind of sugary side of things, so I wouldn't be overly surprised if there's a little bit of dextrose or lactose or something in there just to kind of cream it out a little bit. But it does smell very, very nice. Quite a sweet smelling malt base, but at the same time very, very smooth, I have to say. So yeah, but you can smell a good bit of the hoppy character out of this one, in fairness, at the same time. So yeah, it's leaning towards the juicy, fruity side of things, the green side of the hops. There is a little bit of a floral character in there, but really it's leaning towards the grassy side of things, maybe a teensy little bit of earthiness. On the fruity side of the beer, mangoes, a little bit of apricot as well, to be honest. I'm also picking up a little bit of that lychee, gooseberry complexity that you can sometimes get from citra too. I mean, straight up this beer is very nice and citra in its quality, but the mangoes for me are really pushing their way out. The mangoes have this nice thick juiciness to them, to be honest, but a lot of, yeah, definitely a kind of apricot note to this one, and it reminds me a little bit of these yogurts. I don't know how relevant a reference or keyword this would be to Americans, but it reminds me of these little Munch Bunch yogurts that my mum used to put in my lunch boxes when I was very young going to school, just when I was a little wee boy. But I remember that, it really reminds me of that, but definitely some nice lychee and gooseberry complexities to this beer, so maybe even a little tiny bit of lime or something too. The green side of the hops really leans, it has a bit of a floral background to it, but to me it's leaning more towards the grassy side of things. But then again, when you take it in a bit more deeply, it comes across as being a little bit more sort of floral to me. So yeah, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into this one, but it definitely smells like a really nice kind of straight up American pale ale. There's nothing surprising about this one, but you can kind of tell from the aroma with this beer that it's pretty damn well done. So let's just have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. This one is the Pseudo, a 6.8% American pale ale from Toppling Goliath Brewing Company in Decorah in Iowa. A lovely brewery that they have, haven't visited it. It's in the middle of nowhere, but they do some pretty damn awesome beer. So let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte Skål. Yeah, I mean, this one, definitely not the thickest beer that you're going to get from Toppling Goliath, by no means, and definitely not the booziest of beers you're going to come across either. But it's a really nice, just sessionable beer. This 6.8%, and the thing I would say, if this is 6.8%, it genuinely doesn't say on the can exactly what percentage it is. But it really is a ridiculously easy drinking beer, this one. You could easily mistake this beer for being around sort of 4.5%, but if it's 6.8, that is a little bit dangerous, I have to say. So, but you know, these guys are country folks, there's no cops around and stuff, so they could easily go in, have a few of those and then just drive home, not a problem. Not that I'm condoning that, right enough. But yeah, if this is 6.8%, this is a ridiculously easy drinking beer. Let's try and break this down a little bit then. So going right across the middle of your palate, you can feel that nice pale malty quality. That just blankets the middle of your tongue. Some of the wheaty smoothness just comes in on top of that. The oaty creaminess comes out in the middle of the palate too, and in the very centre of your palate you start to get a little touch of a more biscuity note coming out of the beer too. So there's a hell of a lot going on in this one in the middle of the palate, but it's nothing surprising, but it does have a good level of complexity to it, and I'm finding that the further I go into the aftertaste with this beer, the more it starts to sweeten up. It's just a really nice balance of flavours, this one, I have to say. Yeah, I really just like how this goes together. The malt base of this one is really nice, and it's one thing I've said about a good number of IPAs now. I really miss the thing with the West Coast IPAs where you've got that nice sweet caramelly backbone backing up the hoppy side of things. This one to me has the malt backbone that I've been missing, but it's just obviously it's a different sub-style, right enough, so it's a completely different kettle of fish, but the malt base in this one plays a significant role for me, and I like how they've managed to balance the beer out in that regard. The hoppy side of things, again, is quite straightforward. I mean, it's a single hop beer. If you know the Citra hop, this one's doing nothing surprising. This is definitely one of those beers where it's just about how well it's crafted rather than being overly complex or anything. And as I've said before, some breweries take the approach of just trying to be as complex and as out there as possible, but sometimes it's all about just how well you craft the beer, and I think that's what they've got right with this one. So the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you've got a nice little touch of earthiness. They are quite minimal, I would say, and as you come further forward you start to get more and more of the floral aromaticity out of the beer. It comes to a head just on the very front corners of your palate, and it becomes just that little bit more spicy. The green side of the hops for me definitely leans more towards the slightly spicy floral side of things. There is just a little touch of spice to this one. Around the very front curve of the palate, that's where it becomes just that little bit lighter and grassy, and then behind the front curve of the tongue, that's where you get that more oily bubble, that sort of juicy oily bubble where the fruity esters start to come out of the beer. And again, very, very straight up Citra. Yeah, that's good. This one, you know, if you go to the very back of that oily bubble behind the front curve of your tongue, there's a little teensy little bit of that darker grapefruit quality. That's quite minimal though. It comes out a little bit more the further you go into the aftertaste, and interestingly it comes out with as the beer sweetens up a little bit, which is interesting. But then as you come further forward from that, you get the mangoes. It really leans towards the mangoes, this beer. There's a little touch of an apricot-y note to this one, to be honest with you. But you've also got a little bit of that kind of lychee, gooseberry flavour coming out just almost on the very tip of your tongue. I want to say there's a little touch of lime to this one as well. There is something in my head just saying there's a little bit of lime present here. But to put it plainly with this beer, it's quite... it's a very straight up beer. Not the most complex you're going to find from Toppling Goliath, as I mentioned earlier, but it's one of these ones that's just really well crafted. At 6.8%, it's ridiculously easy to drink this. I can see, you know, people that are driving home from this brewery in the middle of the nowhere, I'm sure there's some horrible car crashes around this brewery, because this beer is ridiculously easy to drink. You're not going to realise how drunk you're going to get off of this. So that's a little bit dangerous, actually. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I would say it's at the top end of light-bodied, bottom end of mid-bodied. It's somewhere in that kind of part of the spectrum. Carbonation is very, very smooth. It leans towards this kind of smooth mouthfeel. It's not got much of an oily character to it, this, or anything, but it does have a nice little bit of crispness at the same time. Good little touch of hoppy bitterness, but you're only talking about 30 IBUs for this one, nowhere near the same as you're going to get from some of the West Coast IPAs. Malt base, I'm finding it's very, very smooth initially, but it starts to sweeten up a little bit. It's almost even got a little bit of that lactosey, sugary quality to it, and it does sweeten up the further you go into the aftertaste as well. But the malt base, really very smooth, a little touch of sweetness to it. Good little bit of hoppy bitterness, as I mentioned. I think 30 IBUs. I just said that a minute ago, brain's not working. But the fruitiness in this beer is really interesting too. Very smooth, very juicy, and some nice fruit complexities on the very kind of front tip of your tongue too. But overall, like I said, very straight up beer, this one. It's more about how well it's crafted than how complex it is, and sometimes that's the right route to take. But another very, very solid beer from Toppling Goliath, and to be honest with this brewery, you wouldn't expect anything else. The reputation does precede them a little bit. It's just cool to find a brewery like this in the middle of nowhere, Iowa. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this. This was the first of the beers that I bought from the brewery there, and I do hope you enjoy my little brewery walk around video that I'll produce for you later. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. The Pseudo, an American Pale Ale. It's 6.8%, quite heavy for a Pale Ale, but you're not going to notice the alcohol in this one, from Toppling Goliath in Decorah, Iowa. A really nice beer, straight up with Citra. If you enjoy this hop, you are going to enjoy this beer. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Toppling Goliath as well, and I'm sure we'll return to these guys at some point in the near future. You will see me review King Sue at some point in the next couple of weeks, and you will see that brewery video as well, and hopefully beyond that we can try a few more different things too. But thanks again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Pseudo, an American Pale Ale, is 6.8% from Toppling Goliath Brewing Company in Decorah in Iowa. Until the next time, slàinte just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slàinte, skål, have a go at this beer. Cheers.